What is the truth humanity is not ready to hear? Much evil not only goes unpunished but is rewarded. Not only that, but a lot of evil behavior is rewarding itself for many people. Humans have to learn to be good. Our wild instincts will cause evil actions if left untamed. No matter where you work or what you do for a living, there will always be that person that nobody can figure out how they got hired, never mind why they are allowed to continue working there. I remember seeing a post on Reddit that seems to answer it. It basically says that to keep most jobs you just need to tick 2 out of 3 of the following attributes. I might have misremembered one. 1. You actually show up on time. 2. Your work is good/up to standard is not the worst and passable. 3. Your colleagues and bosses like you don't hate you the most out of your colleagues. True, and I'm talking about people who do not do at least one of those things, and nothing happens to them regardless. We are pretty far from understanding how the universe works. Take it a step further, there's a good chance that humans simply don't have the capacity to fully understand the universe. A monkey will never be able to comprehend calculus, macroeconomic theory, or how a car works. It makes sense that we too have an intellectual ceiling that will prevent us from ever understanding how the universe works. Another step further, could there possibly be another species, extraterrestrial or not, which could comprehend the universe? The air in chip bags is important. Please explain. They replace the air, which contains oxygen and water vapor, with nitrogen so the chips don't get soggy or oxidize. Most people simply don't care about the things you're passionate about no matter how much you try to convince them that they should be. I love it when people talk passionately about stuff, even if I'm not particularly interested in it. Same. Have a friend who can't get 2 sentences talking about anything without an accompanying talk about how it was made and the good/bad methods used. It's mostly over my head, but I love listening to it because he clearly knows his stuff. Are you special? Maybe a little bit. Are you as special as you think you are? Certainly not. I'm far dumber than most people I know. Does that count? First person to say booty you Rico GNIZERFLOS. URN not TH at do MB is getting flipped off from behind a phone screen. You know all those movies where we battle the evil aliens? We'll be those evil aliens. We're extremely selfish and have no respect for other life. If aliens master interstellar travel to find us first, they will be in control of technologies and powers that are far beyond our current understanding. If they decide to get rid of us, there will be exactly nothing humans can do. They only need to stay in orbit and drop a few tons of antimatters, and it's game over for humans in less than 15 minutes. On the other hand, an intelligent life form who can harness the power of antimatter but hasn't destroyed themselves may be far more benevolent and less genocidal than humans. So maybe we will become the bad guys one day. More realistically, if the aliens were after resources they would probably just collect them from nebulae or small orbital bodies. Going into a gravity well with hostile life may be more effort than what it's worth. Being an atheist doesn't make you any smarter, and being religious doesn't mean you're a good person. Everybody gets smacked with that one. I like it. Not the agnostics though. We will never have a good sense of the world's normal. News won't focus on it because it's boring by definition. Social media won't focus on it for the same reason. Word of mouth and fiction too. Statistics may get us close, but they're hard to picture in terms of human experience, and of course, more exciting stats get repeated more. Our view of the world outside of our own personal experience will always be shaped by the outliers, and there's not much way around it. Reminds me of the book Factfulness by Hans Rosling. He has a great TED talk too. This book changed my view on the world forever. It took away so much of my anxiousness about the state of the world. Sometimes you can be wrong, and it's okay to be wrong. Yeah, it's okay to admit when you're wrong, and it can be okay to learn something. Humans are still animals. I can picture in my mind a world without war, a world without hate, and I can picture us attacking that world because they'd never expect it. Jack Handy. People don't want democracy, they want a dictator they agree with. The only downfall to democracy is that it gives an equal voice to anyone. no matter how unreasonable or traitorous. If everyone was participating in good faith with only the good of the nation and everyone in it, it would 100% be the best. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people would cut off both their legs if it means their enemies lose a single leg. In a democracy, it's only traitorous if 49.9% of the population agree with you. If 50.1% agree, it's patriotic. Humanity is insane. Humanity is the largest threat to itself. Not some natural disaster or outside invasion. We will kill ourselves off at this rate. Yes. It's sad that the most successful and intelligent species in the solar system is most likely going to cause its own downfall. We are going to have to learn how to deal with and accept our differences, because unless we can work together to pool our intellectual resources, humanity is doomed to die on this planet either in the near future or in the far future. We cannot live here forever, especially considering how badly we've treated the place. Maybe this is an odd sentiment, but I've always been rather okay with the idea that humanity never leaves this planet and even goes extinct. I've never really thought living on a planet we aren't adapted for, or have to spend thousands of years to even get to made much sense. And honestly, humanity is a bit aggressive and destructive. Probably not good that we live on forever as we are. Closure is an unrealistic expectation. For me, closure is something you give yourself, otherwise you will be emotionally stuck forever. Learned that the hard way. This, 100%. I had to learn that if I waited for karma in order to find closure, I was definitely not going to find it in certain situations. We talk like we want to save the world, but the true method of saving the world and reversing man-made climate change would require a sacrifice precious few humans would be willing to make. And I don't mean precious in a good way. Saving the world is such an arrogant statement. It's not about saving the world. It's about keeping our human habitat nice and dandy. The planet has and will survive worse things than we could possibly ever do. Exactly like George Carlin said, the planet is fine. The people are fricked. That fear influences every decision that humans make. Fear drives the mills of modern man. Your vehicle's warranty is about to expire. This is true. They called me and said so. Yes, it's about to expire on my 20-year-old car. Or so I'm repeatedly told. At the end of the day, we are just animals overcomplicating the same things all animals desire: food, shelter, and mates. 100% agree. Humanity's best interests lie in mutual cooperation. We are stuck in ego competition mode. In a world with enough resources, if we collectively have the ability to seek out each individual human life on the planet and improve that person's life, we morally should. To do less is selfishness. It may be within your rights according to this or that government agreement, or you may blame this or that reason as to why you don't want to, but it's still complete selfishness. Each of us individually share the collective responsibility for how the human race will turn out, but we turn to ego and competition instead of mutual cooperation and collective strength. A lot of the topics we think about on a daily basis would seem so completely inconsequential after living on the streets for even a week, but we fail to consider that there are real actual human beings living that very experience we dread. Too many of us turn away and refuse to help. As long as people still need help, we have no right to sit comfortably. It's just wrong. And we aren't ready to hear that yet. The harsh truth. I've been saying this for quite some time. Believe me, people prefer to tune it out. The next 30 years are going to get interesting. In this world there is room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness, hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Charlie Chaplin. If aliens invade, even if they come in peace, most people, governments included, will try to kill for no good reason. If aliens are capable of reaching Earth in numbers large enough for us to perceive it as an invasion, trying to kill them will be a profoundly bad idea. Yeah, they can navigate the cosmos, and who knows what else. What are a bunch of figurative Neanderthals with sticks in terms of technology going to do? For the vast majority, when we die, our precious life will be quickly forgotten. So I got a question. Why does it matter whether someone remembers you after you're dead? I mean, you are dead. I don't think it objectively matters, but it is very depressing to think about, at least for some people. We keep thinking the world is getting worse, but the truth is that the world has always been awful and difficult. We just grew up and realized it. In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move. So long and thanks for all the fish. The customer is not always right. Also, this doesn't mean what people think it means. People like to think this is in reference to the individual because that feeds into their story of them being special in some way. What it really means is that on an economic scale, the customer, the collective group with purchasing power, is always right, and a business that tries to sell the customer something they don't want will fail. If the buyer's market says they want peaches instead of plums, you sell them peaches. To try to sell them plums would be foolish. You as a business can't possibly know what is best for the customer, even if you think you do. It's the whole bring a horse to water scenario. If a product isn't selling well, you stop selling it. There is no demand for it. If you can't keep an item on the shelf, you order more of it. You do what the customer is telling you they want you to do instead of what you yourself think should be done. The next world war will be over fresh water, not energy. The Arctic Ocean, my friend. The Arctic Ocean. Greenland, Siberia, Canada, Denmark, Russia, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland and the USA, probably others as well, will have access to so many useful resources from that. The ice melting will actually provide us with a new resource income at least. It's sad, but that's how it is. So you are more than right. It will inevitably happen, unless every superpower decides to unite and share everything. Mayo, you thought. Ain't gonna happen. But what about the things that come after the ice melts? As of right now, there are literally tens of hundreds of thousands of tons of ice just sitting there. When they melt, whatever was inside them will melt too, releasing God knows what. I'm scared, man. Truly scared that we don't realize what path we are heading down to. Politics is a new religion. We are all ignorant fools. Opinions are now more important than facts. Everyone knows enough to think they are right, but not enough to know they are wrong. The ability to change our opinions when new fact comes calling and are able to convince us should be one of the most important attributes for human to have. Yet we are just unwilling to change our opinions, because when facts are presented they for some reasons feel more like a personal attack than a discourse. Nobody cares about your gender reveal party, and they don't really care if you're having a baby. I mean, the family does. Like, obviously your parents care that they're getting a grandchild, siblings that they're getting a niece/nephew, etc. That our society is not sustainable for another 50 years. I wonder how many times this has been said in history. Many societies have collapsed. Humans are the reason why we can't have nice things. We are not capable of sharing any kind of compassion with people who we don't want to associate with. We are very capable, we just don't, understandably, want to. It's normal for humans to be lazy. We didn't evolve to be perfectly efficient hive insects. Most hunters are very lazy. Big cats can sleep for 20 hours a day. Hunter-gatherer humans could usually get all they need to do for the day finished in 3 hours. We are closer to the end of humankind than we are the beginning. This one got to me, damn. We make things about good and evil because we don't understand cause and effect. Good and evil are just concepts to control people. We are a plague on our own environment and will eventually make it uninhabitable to ourselves, killing off our own species. And only the extinction of our species will allow our environment to recover. The floods, the fires, the hurricanes, all are just a reaction to a disease, like a fever. One day the disease will be wiped out and the host will recover, cycles restored. Climate change is gonna really frick us up. Already is. Canada was hotter than the Sahara for a week in June. The town that set the all-time record of 49.4 C burned down a couple days later due to raging wildfires caused by the heat. Add the progressively more intense hurricane seasons, the monsoons getting worse, and it's become more and more clear that climate change is happening right now. Global warming isn't getting better and people are stupid, so we need to prepare for the worst. I picture the world with a 2-degree increase, leading to triple the number of scorching hot days, coral reef dissolution, huge forest fires, rising sea levels, disappearing islands, melting permafrost causing sinkholes, wrecking of railways, more hurricanes, shrinking lakes, disappearing glaciers, bigger allergies from pollen, water scarcity, and crop failures for a growing hungry population. Not to mention the socio-economic instability brought on from that. And that's the best case scenario after an annoying amount of legislation, hypothetical drastic measures against major corporations and major lifestyle changes for the majority of people after everyone agrees through major summits and no political corruption goes on. And we are far from that goal and are definitely heading to 4-degree increase in temperature, more than half the change that brought us from the Ice Age. I know. And the entire planet is deeply in denial, including myself. Because if we weren't, we'd be losing our crap and doing something. Everyone, that is, except for the evangelicals. Their plans are finally coming to fruition. In a large-scale natural disaster, we are all pretty crazy. Imagine a scenario with no power, no cell or internet communication, etc. for an unknown or even infinite amount of time. Very few would ever be ready for such an event. I think the pandemic showed us pretty clearly, the majority of people can't handle being even slightly inconvenienced, let alone doing without or changing their habits. What would be more alarming is that climate change is very real and we are experiencing problems. I'm a buyer for a grocery store and it's becoming increasingly difficult to secure produce. Not all produce but some. Between drafts in California and flooding in the Midwest and everything in between. It's disrupting our food supply. What's more, is inflation is causing food prices to rise, which will eventually be funneled down to consumer. In some places, food is rotting in the field because there's not enough people to pick it. I know people want to say, well, there's enough literature to survive without the internet, but the reality is, most people aren't able to live without a grocery store to provide their food. Yes, people will learn to grow food, but not everyone, and not everyone will be able. Seeing the panic buying from the pandemic firsthand was traumatic. People lost their goddamn minds when they could only buy 4 chickens instead of 6. Frankly, people are not ready to live with less, at least in the US. Telling that same person to just add more vegetables or bread to the chicken meal, World started WW3 because people are that entitled. Additionally, most people do not realize how much actually goes into growing food. People in the Midwest bitch about strawberries coming from Mexico when it's January. Like, people don't understand. Food is seasonal, and it's only through modern marvels and technology they're able to get strawberries in January in Michigan. That it's probably already too late to reverse anthropogenic global warming. I'm serious. There seems to be about a 15-year lag between changes to the quota balance and actual changes in warming. Given current trends, if the experts are right, the upward spiral has already begun. Not 15 years from now, not 5 years from now, this are going to start bad and get much worse long before anything we do now can have any real effect. I feel you, but let's not pass the not doing enough stage straight into the it's too late to do anything stage. Even if it's just damage limitation for the worst hit, it's important to feel a sense that we can make small difference in an area that universally inspires a feeling of impotency and apathy. No matter how much you push people, you can't make them change. You can only change yourself and hope to lead people to change. It's like trying to force water to boil by vigorously shaking it, thinking the molecules are moving enough to turn to gas, when you could just as easily build a fire to add a steady supply of heat. Our grandkids are going to have a really bad freaking time on this earth. Bold of you to assume I'll be reproducing. Same boat. I've kind of always wanted kids, but deep down I know they'd come of age just to see some really bad crap. It seems like a form of torture because they would get teased with a somewhat normal life for the first 10-20 years maybe. Then just as they got old enough to start getting a grasp on life, it would completely flip upside down on them. Would be tough to live with myself. That we might genuinely not be smart or talented enough to manage the complex civilization and technology we've rapidly built. The human brain has changed very little from when we were hunter-gatherers, and yet we expect more from it every year as we expand our knowledge and crafts. The brain is amazing, but it is not infinite in its potential, and we are seeing people get overwhelmed by the rapid rate of change, being unable to keep up. The solutions are many, but some will require much more radical change than others. Just because something is negative doesn't mean that it's the truth. We've fallen into the habit that all of life is terrible, and hence if someone has a super negative worldview, they're seen as more real. The world is a balance of ups and downs, but many tend to either only look at it from a super positive or super negative outlook most of the time. Both can be harmful. Extremes are never healthy in any context. Try to keep everything balanced, not too much, and not too little. Not everyone is intelligent. Not everyone is going to be a CEO. Not everyone is going to be an astronaut. Not everyone is going to succeed in life. Here in the US Constitution gives you the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No one is guaranteeing you will be happy. Our lifestyle in the West is unsustainable and built upon a horrific amount of human suffering. The reason we can go to Walmart and buy 10 pairs of socks for like 4.00 is because we have virtual slaves working for pennies to make those things for us. Humans are poorly engineered at the base level. Our brains are woefully inefficient energy-wise for a start. Our backs are screwed up due to a poor transition from going from quadruped to biped, and unlike sharks we get one permanent set of teeth that's supposed to last our whole lives. God forbid whatever happens to our mouths from inside or outside forces. Also our breathing hole and food/water hole are the same hole, and the only thing that keeps food and water from going into our lungs, which, the food tube is behind the air tube, is a little bit of cartilage, whereas dolphins and whales have separate air and food holes. We are a mess of biological glitches and screw-ups that Mother Nature saw and said, well, it works. The human body is a Bethesda game. That no matter who you are and how nice you sound, if you're an adult man talking to a kid is considered creepy, but not women. Crap, you can be the kid's dad and people will think you're creepy if your partner isn't around. At least that's what my husband says. I have a feeling this is an issue in America and maybe other places, but not everywhere. Quality of life will decrease on average now. Not only do we have frigging climate change, but gross wealth inequality just amplifies stuff. I don't think it's worth it to have kids. I think people who have kids are dooming them to a worse life than they themselves have had, and I think it borders on selfish. Rich or not, climate change will suck. There's still air pollution. We are still killing all the phytoplankton that literally keep us alive with oxygen. We are screwed. The best of societies have peaked in the last 50 years or so. Stop taking advantage of people who are kind. People have taken advantage of me, and I just curse people in my mind, and it makes very hard to trust the next person. One time I was working at gas station and a customer filled $4 gas and said, my house is just near, forgot wallet, and I'll be back with money. So I only took a little gas as human. I trusted that, and then I paid it. They never showed up, and now when somebody's in real trouble I'll think twice to help them. In the name of humanity, don't fake promises. If you can't pay, be honest. That's all I ask. Capitalism based on greed is the source of all of society's ills. Capitalism is the reason we enjoy the most privilege in human history. That on some fundamental level every decision you make and everything you ever do for yourself or other way is done because it benefits in some way, even if that way is just making you feel good about yourself.